Baker is the co-director for the Center of Economic and Policy Research. He has worked as a consultant for both the World Bank and for Congress. We've joined him, or he is joining us rather, by phone from Washington. Dean, thanks so much for being with us this morning. You've said in the past that you think that if the Obama administration cannot do anything to stem the job losses, the next election could be at stake. I imagine you feel that way now more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good story to be telling people at this point. I mean, the economy's headed down, and, Obama came in with a lot of promise, a lot of hope, and it just doesn't look very good. And again, to be fair to him, this is a really, really bad situation, but unfortunately, the measures he's taken clearly have not turned things around.
Dean, I want to bring in my colleague, Chief Washington Correspondent Peter Cook. And Peter, I mean, you've been focused a lot on the political implications of this data.
The political implications, indeed, and of course, big questions about whether or not there's anything the Congress, the administration can do at this point. Dean, I want to get your sense of some of the ideas that are on the table. Right now, we're hearing about a payroll tax holiday, maybe extension, a permanent extension of the research and development tax credit. Do you think either one of those ideas would make any difference, and do you think either one of those ideas is feasible?
Well, the research and development, this is one of these things like the alternative minimum tax. It gets extended every year, and, you could write into law it's going to be permanent, and probably a good thing, but very, very small effect, and certainly nothing we'd see today, tomorrow, or anytime soon. The payroll tax holiday, depending how that's structured, that could be a big deal. So we're paying somewhere around $700 billion a year in payroll taxes. If you had a complete holiday on that, that's a lot of money in people's pockets, and frankly, we could probably use something like that. So, it's not necessarily 100% the best stimulus, but this is going to people who will spend it. So that really is a good idea if they're talking about that.
But it adds to the deficit, Dean. You know that has just become an impossibility right now, given the political environment.
Well, that's the politics, and this is where President Obama's really got to take the lead. The deficit is not a problem now. The markets don't think it's a problem. We're paying ridiculously low interest rates. The idea that somehow this is going to crowd out investment, I mean, that's a normal story. This is where President Obama has to explain the economy to people. Deficits, when we're near full employment, that can crowd out investment. That's not a story now. The private sector isn't doing anything, so the public sector has to take the lead and generate demand.
Are we headed for 10% unemployment without some action from Washington?
I think that's very, very likely. My guess is it goes to at least 9.7 today and quite possibly 9.8, and we're not creating jobs right now. And if you don't create jobs, the unemployment rate's going to edge up. So, hopefully before too long we will turn around and at least start generating some jobs. But my expectation is we're over 10 by the end of the year.
Now, I mentioned two ideas on. Sorry, Deirdre, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Peter, Dean, what is the chance, and I think you mentioned this with Peter, but this idea of letting the Bush tax cuts expire, do you see any Bandaids that can get us from where we are now to where we need to be?
Well, it's not going to be Band-Aids. I mean, we really do need a lot of money. Just to, again, how did we get here? We had the collapse of the housing bubble. That cost us around $600 billion a year in annual construction expenditure, and then on top of that, we lose consumption on the order of about $600 billion a year because people are spending based on the equity. So we need a really big boost to replace $1.2 trillion in lost demand. So a Band-Aid's not going to do that. You need some real money.
Dean, let me jump in again and just ask you, we've mentioned two ideas on the table. I know you've floated some of your own ideas, even offered them to the administration yourself. What other steps could they take right now, realistic steps that would make some difference in the labor market?
Well, there's a couple of things I'd say. One, some jobs programs. I know it's old-fashioned, but the reality is you look at places like Detroit, some of the other hard-hit areas, inner-city kids are looking at unemployment rates 40, 50%. Nothing we do at the macro level is going to give those people a chance. So spending some money, you could say it's wasted if you like, but the point is we're giving people a chance in life, get them started on the right foot. I think that's money very well spent. The other thing, I look to Germany, an incredible success story here that even though they've had a bigger downturn than the United States, our economy's actually grown more than theirs has over the last 2 years. Their unemployment rate's lower today than it was at the start of the downturn. The reason why is they have work sharing. Instead of having unemployment benefits and people be unemployed, they give employers a credit to cut back hours. So you cut back hours 20% rather than lay off 20% of your workers. The government picks up much of the tab. Workers do get some cut, but the point is you keep people employed, they keep their skills up, and presumably when demand picks up, they're there to work more hours.